more. Thank you. Thank you. So, first thing, thank you all of you for being here today, this morning. This feels like being with family, actually. And I want to thank the Punk House for this opportunity to share my work. And special thanks to Liz, to Rima, to Amy, to Mark, and Joey. Thank you, everyone. So the exhibition you are seeing today is about migrations, frontiers, and territories, and it's a selection of the prints I have made in the last 5 years. I started this project when we were living in Spain, in Madrid, in 2016. And migrations have happened since the human race exists. They have existed always, and they happen for a number of reasons. This can go from wars to persecution, to climate change, to natural disasters, famine. There are many reasons, and they are still happening today. And this journey is never easy. So this exhibition tells the story of all these migrants who leave everything behind them, looking for a better life, looking for a better place to live, to raise a family, to work in peace. So I divided this exhibition in these 3 parts. One follows the next one. So migrations is the start of the journey. And as I was saying, this journey is never easy. The migrants sometimes know the difficulties they will be facing, but not always. I think they sometimes just find them, like as they get to them. And they will have to overcome many difficulties, and barriers, and obstacles. And they will have to face them and overcome them. And I'm not only speaking about physical and geographical obstacles, like crossing the desert, or rivers, or hostile territories, or the sea. The journey is risky. Once they are on their way, they will find out that there are also other kinds of barriers, like prejudice. They will face prejudice against their ethnicity, their race, their culture, and their religion. And at one point, this journey will end, and they will arrive to the place they were looking for. The trigger of this project was all these people fleeing Syria. They were trying to reach Europe. They actually didn't mind very much which country in Europe, as long as it was Europe. And we could see on TV, we could watch on TV, all these terrible, heartbreaking images of families walking. They had left everything behind them. They were just carrying, some of them babies or children, some of them had a backpack, not all of them. And you could see from the look on their faces that they were having a hard time. But they are so willing, they want so much to leave all the problems they have at hand. Even though they are living in many cases, their family, their houses, all their possessions, they aren't carrying anything with them. But they are so willing to find this ideal place that they just don't care. At one point, they will reach a new territory, and they will have to adapt. And if you think we all live in territories, and I'm not only speaking about countries, but the first territory, maybe very private, is our own bedroom in our house. Then it's our house, our neighborhood, our town, or our country. And what do we do with territories? First thing, we define the borders. We say, this is my space, or, okay, this is my neighborhood, I live in this country. And then we set the rules for that specific territories. and then we decide who will let in. So we can all relate in some measure to these territories. They may look, when you see them from the outside, like very different from each other, different in size, different in shape, different in color, but at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. They are all the same, because it's always human people who live in there. We're all humans, we're all people. And I think COVID, because I'm still working on my territory series when COVID hit, that COVID has been a great opportunity for us all to make us aware of this interconnection between territories, of how dependent we are from each other. So let's not forget that. So this is about the exhibition, and I would like to talk about my creative process. This is very particular to every artist. There is no one specific or good process. Every artist has its own. To me, it starts with something that moves me. My inspiration is always nature or people as a society. But what I am going to work on has to move me. I cannot expect people to be moved if I am not moved in the first place. So I start with that. Then the next step may take weeks, months, sometimes years. I start to work on that in my mind. There's a lot of thinking, of researching. And I sometimes write some words, no more than that. I never make sketches, and I never draw like sketches or make prototypes if I'm talking about a sculpture. I never do. Everything happens in my mind. But once I know what I want to express, once I know what I want to say, ideas just start flowing. They just don't stop until they stop. And then I change. So that's how it goes for me. And when I start working, I work intuitively. But I know where I'm heading. So, yes, that's my particular process. If you have any questions or anything, I should talk about the technique I use. Because in printmaking, there are different techniques. Calligraphy, which is my favorite, is relatively new. It was invented, let's say, in the 60s. So that's 60 years ago. That's for us, it's quite new. And it happened when these new glues, hard, very strong glues were invented. So some printmakers, like traditional printmakers, had this idea of gluing things on a metal plate, because etching and appetting, you always work with either copper or zinc plates. So they started gluing things on that and printing them, because a plate has to be very strong to resist the pressure of the press. It's a very, very strong pressure. So if the things you are gluing are not really firm, either they will stuck on your paper, or you will lose your plate. And one of the advantages I love about this is a non-toxic technique. And it is less restraining than etching, because you can work as if you were painting. That's what I love. I usually use varnishes, pastes, carborundum, which is this grid with which sandpaper is made of. You can buy it in different, just like sandpaper, like coarse or fine. And depending on what you use, they retain more ink or less ink. So instead of when you see an aquatine, all those shades of gray that you see, you have to put resin in your plate. I mean, it's a very long and tedious for me process, and very toxic. Not only because of the acid you will need to use, but the resin itself is extremely toxic. You have to wear like a very, very high-grade mask to work with that. So that's about the calligraphy. You will see there are some monotypes. A monotype is a one-time print. There is no base, so you cannot repeat it. A monotype is like drawing on a plate, then you put your paper, run it through the press, and you get your print. You cannot repeat it. Now, even if there is some ink left on your plate and you put another paper on it will print, but it's like a ghost print. It will be very pale. You cannot repeat it. I usually make very small editions of my work. When printmaking was invented, the idea was to make art accessible to a lot of people. So that from one plate, you could make, as long as the plate was good to print, maybe 100 copies. Afterwards, the artists, this happened with Goya's prints, they had to retouch the plate because copper, after one press and another and 100 copies, copper is soft, so the lines start to blur. They are not as neat, and the fine details are lost. So this is it. Today, that has changed. It's different. So I don't make large editions. Actually, except twice that I made more than 100 copies of the same plate. All my editions are 4, 5, 6 prints, never more than that. Sometimes just one. And I feel like, okay, I just got this one. I'm happy with this one. Let's move on to something else. I don't know if you have questions. Yes.
What do you do with the plates?
With the plates, I have to say that colorgraph plates are beautiful on their own many times. It has happened to me to think that they are even more beautiful than the print. Not always, but sometimes. And to me, it's like sculpting in flat. They are like flat sculptures for colorgraph plates. If you see an empty plate, you just see like a metal piece with a drawing. But colorgraph plates are quite different. So sometimes what I do, I keep them all. I keep all the plates. Some of them, the ones I like the most, I end them again as if I was going to print, but I don't print. I just keep them like that. I will make an exhibition of the prints once. I will do that.
Any other questions?